Buenas, buenas, buenas. I'm Vanessa, the host of Chicklet, a podcast where I share my honest reviews of books that I think Latinas, women, and millennials would enjoy. Please subscribe and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, and YouTube at Chicklet Podcast. And enjoy today's episode on the book Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey with my very first guest ever, my Instagram
Yeah.
friend, Melissa.
Hello.
She is the CEO and founder of Mellow & Co., where she hand makes clean soy wax candles with care. I actually ordered San Diego, I believe was the scent that I got, and I'm obsessed with it. I definitely recommend it. If you want to order a custom candle, those are available too. She's currently having a promo, free shipping on orders over $75, and I think you should take advantage of it. So welcome, Melissa. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to read the book. That's a lot of commitment to read. It was like 6 hours, right?
Yes.
Where did you actually finish the book?
No,
Okay.
I didn't because yeah.
Tell
But
me,
it's
get into it. Let's get into it.
I
Why didn't you finish it?
I mean, I think that it was my fault. I should have bought the paperback instead. I did the audiobook because I don't read much,
Yeah.
which is why I was inspired to do this podcast with you too, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read something. So I should have just gotten the book, but I was being late. I don't know. I just thought it would be easier. And Matthew McConaughey is the one who is reading it. And his
Yes.
voice is kind of like, I think it was his voice that kind of bothered me about the whole audiobook of it.
Something rubbed me the wrong way about the way that he was doing the audio. It seemed a little pretentious a little bit
Yeah.
because it's like
Yes.
him talking about himself for 6 hours and he was so enthusiastic. It seemed like he was obsessed with himself, which, like, good for you. We should
Yeah.
all be obsessed with ourselves and be our number one fan. I get it. But to me, something rubbed me the wrong way with it. I didn't like it either. But I will say I pushed through it and I'm glad that I did. Because the reason that we like Matthew McConaughey, the reason why we even picked this book was because of the rom-com movies, right? That's what
Mhm.
we see him as. This bad boy turned good or so much charisma. For us millennials, he is like the it boy a little bit. And then in recent years, he kind of steered away from that. And even in the book, he was talking about how he just didn't feel challenged about the rom coms anymore. I get that. I understood that. What did you think about his childhood?
I was surprised about his childhood. I thought it was kind of funny how he went and talked about his parents' just kind of crazy relationship. He grew up in Texas, so I can kind of think about what that might have been like. And then how his dad was kind of a con artist. The part when he was talking about when he had acne and he was trying to get money from something. So I
Yes.
thought that was kind of interesting. Just his parents seemed like characters, but I guess he's kind of like that too. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I felt the same way too. And I feel like their relationship, how they were abusive to each other. At one
Yeah.
point, they threw a table, the mom pulled a knife out on him, and then they had sex in the kitchen in front of everyone. It probably did traumatize him, but he's, over 50 years old. So hopefully he's worked through that. And he also journals every day. So I'm sure that he's done some type of reflection and healing from that. But I felt bad. You could be
Yeah.
really fucked up. So that's traumatizing, right? But the one part that I want to say jealous of, the adult in me wants to say jealous, but I was really irritated at was when he was talking about building 11-story treehouse in the middle of the woods one summer. And I feel like that builds character. And so I was a little jealous of the fact that he was able to do that.
I feel like, I mean, maybe it was for the book because there was other parts like when he was his time in Australia and how kind of crazy and kooky the family was that he was living with. He just exaggerates kind of maybe, or maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Maybe this stuff really
Right.
happened. Who knows?
Right. That's what I'm saying. It seemed like he was exaggerating, but we'll never know, I guess. Um, and I felt the same thing too with the Australian stuff. It went on for so long too. I don't know what was the point of that. When we were done talking about it, I was like, what did that do for us?
I don't know. Just part of his, I feel like he's gone on so many adventures, which is kind of cool, which is what I liked about it.
Yes, that's true.
For me, I kind of got from it just that because I think at the time he was also really strict in being vegetarian or vegan. I can't remember which one it was.
I always look at things from a mental health perspective, and I feel like him trying to be so a vegetarian. I think he was, he was a kid, so he was doing it incorrectly. He was just eating a Cobb salad, I think he said, every day for like months. Your body and your brain gets weird when you're starving it from nutrition. And so I feel like he was doing that because he was having such a hard time with the family that he was like, oh, I'm going to control the one thing that I can control, which is food. And I was concerned. That sounds like an eating disorder and,
Yeah.
dangerous. I don't want to shit on the book, but also he talked about masturbating several times
Okay, I must have not gotten to that.
and also wet dreams. He mentioned having a wet dream 3 separate times in the book.
Oh my, I did not catch that one. That's weird.
I think that what this book kind of did to me was realize that the Matthew McConaughey that I had in my head from the rom-com is not actually who he is. He's a separate person from that,
Yes, totally.
which I think was necessary and good, but I'm also disappointed.
Like how they say, don't be the celebrity or your favorite
Yeah.
celebrity. You know?
Right, exactly. I think that's exactly what this has done.
I really enjoyed getting to know Matthew McConaughey a little bit
Mhm.
more. I liked how even though his parents were kind of wacko, they taught him, don't say can't. And I think they hit him because he would say, I can't. Not saying I'm not condoning that. They encouraged him to do the things that he wanted to do.
Yeah, and I think they also let him be himself.
Yes, despite their shortcomings, they always helped him be himself. And I think that's great.
I definitely did not experience that at all.
That's some old school Texas stuff on a farm.
Kids run wild and letting them do whatever they want, just come home when sun goes down to eat dinner or whatever. That was definitely not my experience at
No,
all.
no, me either. I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up in the time when I think well, how old are you?
32.
Okay, yeah, I'm 34. So we grew up kind of in the same
Yeah.
years when my parents overprotected me, I feel like, because it was when all the bad things were coming out that could happen to your kids. So people got really scared during our growing up, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Right in front of my house, there's this tiny little park. And when I say park, I don't mean swings and a slide. No, it was an old cannon that they deactivated. On the ground was the names of soldiers who grew up in our town that passed away during World War II or something. It was a memorial. And that was the only place I could go, my backyard and that park. That was it.
I remember being in high school and kind of getting that independence of not having to tell my parents where I was going. And I remember feeling rebellious. Oh, I should call my mom and tell her that I'm going to go to the mall with my friends, but I don't really have to because I'm with my friends with their parents.
I definitely agree. If you cage kids like that and you're just like, oh, the world is so scary, then the second that they have freedom, they go crazy. I definitely did my freshman year of college. That was not healthy at all. That was definitely me making up for the past 18 years of being caged, literally. And then the
Totally.
pendulum swings the other way and you balance yourself out. Some people don't, though. Some people just
Yeah.
stay on that side. But luckily, I was able to swing back and neutralize a little bit.
I'm the same exact way. I've had my crazy times, but I'm always back to maybe it's for our roots. I don't know. Maybe it's that just doing the right thing.
That probably influences how you parent your son.
Yeah, I definitely have to catch myself because there's things like I love my mom to death. And now being a parent, I completely understand how hard it
Right.
is to your children from your own fears. A huge one for me is elevators. My mom is so scared of elevators. And I'm terrified of elevators. And with my son, I have to be like, all right, we're going in and this is fun and we're pushing the button, just it's really hard.
That is so hilarious because my mom is very fear based. And so I have a learned behavior of being afraid of a lot of things. I live on a really
Oh,
high floor, and every time I step foot onto the elevator, the second my foot goes on it, I imagine that the elevator is going to fall. And it doesn't, and it's not going to. These people, the owners of the building, do not want their elevator to fall and me dying because that's bad rep for them. So I am safe, but you carry it with you and then you have to manage it and try to
yeah,
heal from it. So complicated.
you do. It's hard, man.
It is hard,
It,
yeah. I find it interesting that you're in California and have similar experiences to me being in Jersey.
yeah, I was thinking about that with another Instagram friend that I have. You just feel so connected to certain people. And it's just crazy how sometimes I see myself in people that I follow. That's one of the great things about social media and
Yeah.
technology these days is that we do get a chance to connect with people that we wouldn't normally and that we have similarities to.
And you see that you're not weird, you're not crazy, you have people to connect with you. It's very grounding, comforting to know that there are other people like you out there. And it's funny because our parents don't talk to strangers on the internet. And I always have. I've always had friends on the internet. And I've met people from the internet, Bumble, Tinder, friends, guys, everything. I will say one thing that I absolutely loved about the book was him talking about his wife, Camila. Oh my God. This is what we wanted. This is what I wanted from the book, was to see the Matthew McConaughey that I had in my head when they first met, how he invited her to her house. And I think she went, right? She went to his house that first night and then she
Mhm.
slept over and nothing happened. And then in the morning, she was fitting in with everyone in his life. The way that he talks about her, I feel like is how us as women, I won't speak for you and all women in general, but my impression is that's how all women want to be in a relationship. We want our guy to be obsessed with us and dote on us and think that the sun rises and sets on us. I loved hearing him talk about their whole relationship.
Yes. And when he was talking about all of the things that he's done in his life, but when he was around his kids, he knew he always wanted that and just loved it so much.
He also talked about how he was really scared of marriage and his son was talking to him about it and asked him, "What are you afraid of?" or something like that. And that's what got him really reflecting on how he views marriage. He talked about how he thought marriage was about restricting you and causing negativity, which I'm sure comes from his parents. But also, I think that's really common for men too, to think that their whole identity is over when they're married. And he said that it was actually the opposite. You gain something out of it. And I loved it. I want my boyfriend to read that part of the book so that,
Yeah.
so that he can have that same realization because
The other part that I really enjoyed was when he wanted to switch from law school to film
mhm.
and he was so scared to tell his dad, but his dad just said, "Don't half-ass it." And that is what gave him maybe some part of strength to like, okay, I'm not going to half-ass it. I'm going to do this. He gave green light, you know?
Yes, exactly. The stereotype that we have of people who are in toxic relationships and poor people in Texas, we think that they're all intense right wingers who want to cage everyone. So it's interesting that his dad was really open, I guess, and that you can understand where Matthew kind of gets it from. I really like the green lights perspective, the whole point of the book about making green lights. If there's a yellow light or if there's a red light, going out and taking charge. At one point, he was traveling across the US. And so he made appointments with people where he would be in 24 hours. And then another, it's not like, "Oh no, I'm traveling, I can't see you." It's like, "Oh, you want to meet in 24 hours? I'll be there." So he kind of made shit happen, which I think is a privilege, right? When women specifically are forward and direct and are demanding, obviously we know that they're viewed negatively. I think Matthew even talked about how it's a privilege because he's a white guy and he was able to do all the things that he did. I appreciated that too, that he acknowledged that he has privilege.
I definitely agree with you on that. It's about confidence, but it's also about the opportunities and about just there's so many different factors in it. So I do appreciate too that he recognized that and spoke out about it.
Do you feel like you're going to read more after trying to start?
Yes, I'm going to read more for sure. I need to find something. Maybe autobiographies are not for me. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah. I think that you should try a genre that is so out of your norm because that's
Yeah.
what got me into reading. I read this book called The House on the Cerulean Sea. Have you heard of it?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's about a foster home, but all of the kids in the foster home are mythical creatures. One is
Okay.
a gnome, one is a fairy, one is a shapeshifter, but they're all children. And I don't wanna give too much away, but the fact that it was fantasy and very playful, it really intrigued me, and I read that book within, like, 2 days because it was very different.
Yes. That I mean, that seems like something I think that's great advice to say something that because normally I'm like, okay, maybe a self-help book or something positive like that or ways to make money or whatever, entrepreneur stuff because I have a business. But that does kind of seem boring to me sometimes. I'm definitely intrigued by that book.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like that's really important to note too because, like you said, you're a business person. You can find a fiction book that will teach you a lot about life lessons. It doesn't
Mm,
have to be just nonfiction. You know, have you heard of Yellowface?
no.
I just finished that book yesterday, 2 days ago, and the main character was a writer, but I didn't know that this fictional book was gonna be talking about the writing process. I took so many notes on the writing process. The main character talked about how she was story mapping and doing research and writing it all in a book and then ripping the pages out and rearranging them, and she just went into detail, you know what I'm saying? And so me, I am also writing my own book, and so I took a lot of notes for that so that I can, you know, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing with writing a book, so I'm like, "This is great for me," and so for you, you can find I don't know any books about a startup or something like that, but I'm guessing resilience and going an unconventional route maybe, but I can't think of any books to suggest off the top of my head.
I'll find something because now I do have the Audible app on my phone.
Mhm.
So I think you get free credits each month too. So it's great.
Oh, interesting, I did not know that. I also don't buy any books, all of the books that I read are free through the Libby app. Do you know the Libby app?
No.
Okay, so you have to have a library
Okay.
card.
I have a library card for the local library.
Yeah, exactly, and so you
Okay.
download the Libby app, and it asks you for your library card number,
Hmm.
and then you have access to all of the electronic books at your library.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can check it
Okay.
out, and the really popular book, there's like a 6-month wait for that book, but you just add your name to the list, and in 6 months, you'll get a little notification like, "Hey, you have access to the book now." Because books today are like $30. I'm reading a
Yeah.
book a week, I'm reading 2 books a week, I'm not spending $30 on books, these people got me fucked up.
I'm just looking out at the beautiful Mission Bay right now.
Let me
Let,
see.
let me see if I can hold on. How do I flip this? I'm so
Bad at
technically challenged
technology? Yeah.
sometimes.
You see 3 dots?
No.
That's alright.
Yes. I see through that. Here we go.
Nice, nice. Oh, wow, look at that.
You don't want to go swimming in it, but it's beautiful.
Why don't you wanna go swimming in it? Because the bay is, like, still water, kind of?
Yeah, this water is gross. We don't want to
Oh, really?
don't want to jump in it. I remember I jumped in it one time and my my husband was like, "Jumped in Mission Bay." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "There's three-eyed fish out there." 'Cause it's like contaminated, you know?
I
Beautiful
know
California.
I feel the same way because when I'm in Jersey City, you go on the Hudson to look at the New York City skyline, and if you go
Right.
kayaking in it, you don't let the water touch you. If you're on a boat on it, you don't let the water touch you. It's nasty, I feel you. Why is it like that? Why is that a common thing that our water is inaccessible and we can't go in it?
It's definitely happened over the course of the last 20 years because I remember being able to swim in lakes in my
Mhm.
hometown. And then a few years later, they're like, "Nope, can't swim in these anymore." And I'm like, "Okay, that's horrible."
We should be able to swim in it. Thank you, Melissa, for
Thank
joining me and reading and scheduling with me and being such a great first guest. I'm so
Yay!
excited. Yay. If you like today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. New episodes are uploaded on Friday mornings. You can also follow me on social media and YouTube at Chicklit Podcast. And remember, if you have any book recommendations, send them my way. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day with your son and your husband.
Thank you. You too. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.